Heyo, Greg Brandos for the Coach Speak Index. We are ripping a Best Ball Mania 6 draft today, and I have a very special guest with me, the winner of Best Ball Mania 3, the guy behind Legendary Upside, and, well, let's just say the world's best analogist of the Tree of Jacquard, Pat Kerrane. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, excited to draft the team here. This will be fun.
All right, let's go ahead and get in. I almost did leave studio instead of share screen. That would have been
yeah, and just let me vamp on my own.
Yeah. We'll try the 30. Oh, all right. 2 people left in this 30-second. It's been I imagine when you're doing drafts by yourself, Pat, you're probably doing like 20-second, but like live stream, are you doing 30?
I do 30. Yeah, I do 30. Just gives you a little bit more time to talk about it. But I do tend to do 20. I don't always do 20 though. Sometimes I will do 30 because the rooms, at least I tell myself, are like slightly different.
I like a 30. It's luxurious.
It is a bit.
I think there's 20.
Yeah.
Okay, we got the 8th pick here. And light mode, yeah.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention, I mean, I'm surprised that you're allowed to stream in light mode, you know?
I fixed it.
The chat letting you off the hook.
You can uncancel me now, okay?
The comments are 2 GMs and then light mode in my eyes.
Eagles Bills week 17, is this true? Can somebody
wow.
So far week 17, Denver, Kansas City, Dallas, Washington, Detroit, Minnesota, New York Giants, Raiders, and Tampa Bay, Miami. And
Tampa Bay, Miami. Wait, who was playing the Raiders?
Giants at Raiders, Bucks at Dolphins, Lions at Vikings, Cowboys at Commanders, and Broncos at Chiefs. And now this guy's saying Eagles, Bills.
All right. Bills is fun.
I'll believe you. Yeah. Okay. How are your exposures looking so far? Anybody you're like, ooh, might have to scale it back a little bit. Also, how many drafts have you done?
BBM. I haven't drafted that many teams. So I drafted BBM, I think I've done 8 or 9. And then I went on a little mini vacation last week, and I haven't drafted since I've been back, actually, because I was like, I'm going to know the schedule in 2 days. So why don't I just wait until then? But yeah, I'll probably fire off a draft tonight, and then I'll be drafting a little heavier than usual to make up for some of the volume over the last like 5 or 6 days.
Right. Coming up on our pick next, Puka Genti are at the top. Neighbors, Amon-Ra. All right, we got Puka.
Oh, nice. Okay, I like Puka here a lot.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
dude,
Puka's so good,
and that offense is so concentrated between their top 2 receivers.
Exactly. Like, I don't think Adams really hurts him.
No. I'm very, very little. Like you need a second guy.
Yeah.
To keep things open for that. That's part of the thesis of why the Jags took Travis Hunter. Obviously, he has that 2-way ability that makes him so just unbelievably valuable. But James Gladstone and Liam Cohen have been talking about, we need someone to take this cloud coverage off of Brian Thomas Jr. And they go out and get Travis Hunter. So that's actually good for Brian Thomas Jr.
And Adams wins on the outside, which is, I think, they like Kupp and Puka were kind of overlapping in what they did a bit.
Puka's so dangerous. So it
feels like the Rams.
Yeah, no, sorry.
The Rams chose Puka in that role, and then they bring in Adams, who's, I think, more complimentary.
Yeah. Puka's so dangerous on those just like middle of the field slants.
Yeah.
Just his hands are automatic.
Yep.
All right. Brock Bowers might be available here. Nico, Brock, Drake at the top of the. Okay.
Yeah, Bowers gets sniped. Bowers is so fun. And then Nico goes too.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
got Drake, AJ Brown.
To me, that's a tier break right before us, which is not ideal. But yeah, I think Drake, AJ Brown, even H-Ham, but I do prefer the receivers.
Let's do Drake. I think, this is my first Drake share. Puka Drake, pretty good start. Pat, I gotta ask you the question that is on everyone's minds right now. What do you think happens when we die?
What happened before you were born?
Oh, okay. So the world will cease to exist
to you
when I'm gone. Yeah.
It's just
all right.
What it was before. You go back to that.
I'm guessing I'll get reincarnated as a coach with 50% reliability rating in every category, just tormenting players.
I think mine's actually higher EV. Getting reincarnated as a perfectly mediocre coach seems worse.
I've been thinking a lot about reincarnation. Maybe it's maybe that's a thing that once you turn 43.
The chat seems pretty bummed out by my answer, but
Oh, that was my bad. Speak is back. Appreciate it. Missed you guys. What are you doing with RJ Harvey now, Pat? Is he worth taking at this ADP if you didn't have much of him pre-draft or just hope for the best?
Well, hey Brett, why weren't you drafting off the leg up rankings pre-draft? Because we got a bag. We got a big old bag of RJ Harvey. I was at 36% on DraftKings.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, but if you're trying to catch up a little bit on RJ Harvey, don't want to miss the boat. I mean, it is a new tournament. No one has super cheap RJ Harvey. I mean, maybe there's like a guy who got like a 9th round RJ Harvey day one or something, but he was pretty priced up right away. People are going into drafts with him as a priority. So, I think you can take him where it's sort of fair to take him, which I do think is probably the 5th round. I wish I'd taken more of him in the 6th and stuff before he kind of went up into the 5th, because I wasn't like fully on board with the 5th round price, but I am now, having thought about it a little more. I think he's fine to take there. You want to just build smartly with him. I don't think he's going to necessarily like have the whole backfield to himself, but he should have some really nice weeks.
Sorry to interrupt. We're on the clock. Kerrane and Devontae Adams are available to stack with Puka and Ted McMillan. Those are the top 3.
Are you in on Kerrane? I know they're still talking nicely.
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to go on the receivers if you'd rather.
You want to double up Devontae and Puka?
Sure. So what's the Kerrane worry?
I'm worried. Well, I'm waiting on the green light from McVay. So if you look at what Les Snead said last year about the running back that they drafted, he said, "Oh, this is just a guy to play him a little bit, kind of keep the wear on Kyron's tires, right?" Like it seemed pretty obvious from what he was saying that Quorum was just, okay, let's give Kerrane a breather, and we have like a Kerrane 2.0, a guy who we think is pretty similar, so we don't lose anything when he's in the game. Now it's very different what he's saying about, well, I think we might need a committee. And then we have all this stuff from McVay earlier in the offseason about we want to, like, I really like Liam Cohen's offense last year, and we want to like switch things up a little bit. And we know McVay has always been kind of ahead of the curve offensively, switching up personnel and formations, whatever. We saw them switch to like duo back when they like Kerrane had a big year, and like last year they beefed up the offensive line when they saw linebackers were getting smaller. Yeah, so I think okay, sorry, we're on the clock again. Omarion Hampton is here. Xavier Worthy,
I'm
trap
into that.
hunter. Yeah, Omarion.
I do Worthy or Hampton, but Hampton's fun.
Hampton is pretty fun. Went ahead and took him there. What do you think? What do you think it looks like for Hampton? Like, do you think just right away kind of clear RB1, or it's something that throughout the season they're doing kind of a 50-50 thing, and then they just realize like, oh, okay, Omarion Hampton way better than Najee Harris?
I think it'll be a split to start. I think, and then maybe he won't even be the starter. That Najee will be out there. Najee is like very, he's cromulent, you know, to use Davis Maddox's word. That's he'll be out there and doing, you know, what you expect. And Hampton is a rookie, so I think you could see them kind of bring him along slower than we like, and we're all pulling out our hair. I'm getting a bunch of hate about the ranking. You know, you said he was a target in the 4th round. What's going on? And then by like week 5 or week 6, it's like, well, Najee's got nothing left, just like we thought, and Hampton's looking like he's got some juice. And by the end of the year, he's kind of taken over as the clear starter. That would be, I mean, he's a 1st round running back, so that might even be like too bearish. Like maybe he can consolidate the workload in training camp, but I honestly don't think he needs to be worth this price. I think he can be someone who comes on not like only down the stretch, but who earns more work as the season progresses, and for like the back half of the season is just like a clear cut starter.
I think a pretty bullish thing that came out of the NFL draft pressers with Chargers GM Joe Ortiz and head coach Jim Harbaugh was Harbaugh kept talking about how Hampton can score the ball. He's like, you look at his production, like this is a guy that can score the ball, and said like a couple different times. It's like, okay, so it's nice to see that they kind of view him through that lens. Coming up here, Jim Mixon, Zay Flowers, Calvin Ridley, Cortland Sutton. This is pretty late for.
It's late for Flowers, and honestly, Mixon here I think is solid. Mixon goes. So Flowers here is really quite nice.
Yeah,
I think we go ahead and do that.
Real nice ADP. Scoop here.
Yeah.
So
almost
far,
10 picks passed.
Yeah. Got Omarion Hampton as a running back, Puka, Drake London, Devontae Adams, and a nice ADP value on Zay Flowers. Pretty good start, I would say here.
For sure.
Like how this is shaping up. We're going to need to hit on running back eventually. Got a question here in the chat. Our thoughts on Bucky Irving, not even a 50% snap share last year. He was incredibly good. If he gets bumped up closer to 60% more snap share, could that make him really pop this year? Great offense too. What's the outlook to y'all? Thanks. We'll put a pin in that real quick. Coming back up in 2 picks here. I'm not even going to say the name of who I'm eyeing here. As soon as I say a name, they always get taken. Like not even live stream, just like regular draft. My God, unbelievable!
Yeah, that's what I wanted to.
Oh my God. Okay, so we got Olave, Juwan Jennings, Quinshon Judkins, James Conner.
I think I'd go one of the backs here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with either guy.
You want to go Judkins here?
Sure.
I believe this is my first Judkins share as well.
Double rookies.
Double rookie running back. What could go wrong? Nothing. All right, back to Bucky Irving. Yeah, what do you think about Bucky this year?
So I think looking at like the snap share from last year is not going to be like the most illuminating way to do it because he was a rookie and it took him a while to he's a 4th round rookie as well, so it took a minute to kind of earn the work that he got. So if you look at his snap share like over the back half of the season, it did get stronger. He was at 72% in week 18. So I do think to close the year 57%, 55%, 72%. I don't have the playoffs handy, but it was kind of his backfield at the end of the season. I would expect that he does have kind of a clear starter role with White taking some of the work, especially as on like true passing downs. But Bucky was good as a receiver last year. So, and I don't think like if he can improve a bit as a pass blocker and stuff, I think he can displace more of White is kind of like a classic placeholder back to me. And we've seen enough from White to know that he's not like gonna come roaring back and take work from Bucky. It's more about what Bucky can earn from here. So you do have to take on some risk that he's like a committee back when you're taking him in the 2nd round, but he's a very talented back. He was very efficient as a runner and receiver last year. I do think there's upside for more work, which he flashed at the end of the season. And so as a bet on talent play, I do like him at kind of the 2-3 turn. The 2-3 turn. Yeah.
Yeah. And people talk about, oh, Liam Cohen's gone. Same thing in Detroit. Ben Johnson is gone. But Tampa Bay, like their new offensive coordinator, Josh Grizzard, and their general manager, Jason Light, have talked about how like there's going to be continuity here in this offense. Like we're not just changing everything. Like we might try to improve on some things, but this is largely the same offense from last year. And I was talking to someone yesterday about the Detroit situation where, okay, yeah, the John Morton is not Ben Johnson, but they have all these plays from last year. Like they know what works for that. The personnel didn't change, right? They have the same personnel. They know what works with that personnel. And so often we'll just like write off a new OC because if we don't know anything about them, like who's to say that John Morton isn't a good OC? Back on the clock.
I did that last year with Cohen because we liked Canales.
Yeah, exactly. Tony Pollard.
I think Pollard or Swift really makes sense with the build.
Yeah.
Right, we got the 2 rookies, so grabbing one of those guys, I'm fine with either.
Yeah, I like both. I do want more Tony Pollard. So yeah, I'll be happy to grab him here. We got all that 1A, 1B talk from them last year on Pollard and Tyjae Spears. I don't know that we got like such a big sample size to know that like I believe I have it graded in the database as a lie because that obviously didn't come to fruition. Even the games that they were healthy, it wasn't a huge sample size of games they were healthy together. But
Pollard was the guy though.
Pollard did get the work, and for an offense that should be better, for an offense that wants to pass the ball as much as
Let's hope it's better. My God, come on.
Callahan wanted to pass so badly and so much last year, but just couldn't. The way that things were going, Tony Pollard obviously a good pass catcher, and I think a pretty good running back. So if that offense,
he's pretty good. And like with this build, I'm trying to this year do like a little bit more of the actually kind of like the guys whose profiles aren't great, but also when they're like out there doing their thing, they'll project like pretty well. And Pollard is kind of in that like low end RB1, high end RB2 kind of zone where he can like do a thing. And that thing here is like helping me get through some gross Najee weeks that I talked about earlier. Like I do think that probably happens, but Pollard will probably hit my lineup those weeks. And then if Pollard cools off at the end of the year, I'm expecting Hampton to crush at the end of the year when I take him in the 4th round.
Well, running back chaperone here.
Little running back chaperone. That's right.
Okay, we're on the clock. Igbuka, Kyler Murray, which would be naked right now. Jaden Higgins are the top three.
I'm pretty into Ibuka.
Igbuka. All right, let's do it. This is my
Wide
first
receiver 5.
Igbuka share. Yeah, Puka, Drake. Oh, we got a Puka and an Igbuka.
Look at that.
I mean, that's the winner this year. Right? Here, which players do you see rising most into August?
One of them, I kind of want to get your thoughts on where you think kind of the coach's head is at, but Christian McCaffrey, I could see rising quite a bit, and I'm torn because I really like the receivers in that range, but man, if McCaffrey is just McCaffrey, we're going to be like, what were we doing?
Absolutely.
What were we doing taking this guy in the early second round?
And the offensive coordinator, Clay Kubiak, just said, like, we want to give him the ball as much as possible. And we know McCaffrey is capable of. Like, this is an absolute smash guy that plays a very high percentage of the snaps, gets a very high percentage of the touches. Yeah, I think I have him ranked. Do I have him ranked below? I think I have him ranked above Genty, but below Gibbs. I think I want to put him above.
Wow. Yeah, we're like rated ADP, but I keep being like, I think we're just, am I being a prisoner to the moment right now? You know, and like not like, oh yeah, it's fine. Yeah, we should definitely mix him in. He might be like the guy to take right now. And from a CLV perspective as well, like what we think about where McCaffrey is, like, it might not even take a season. It might just take a summer before we're like, this dude should be probably like the 104.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the age with the the injury history and recency bias.
Yeah.
I mean, any of these guys. Christian McCaffrey takes, like, he's had some pretty fluky injuries. Like, he takes really good care of his body. He's not like lazing around. He's doing everything possible to be out on the field and be dominant.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't produce in a very limited sample last year. So like you do have the, like, when he was limited by the injury, he just wasn't the same guy. And so, given the age and the lost season injury, kind of a nagging thing that never went away, it is risky. But the more reporting that we get of like, yeah, no, he seems good now. I don't want to ignore
We're on
that.
the clock now. Kyler's still available at 104. Josh Downs at the top of the list as well. And
I'd be okay with naked
Andrews.
Kyler.
Yeah,
it's kind of,
we can tag on with like a Michael Wilson or something.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but like he does run.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully more this year.
Yeah, hopefully more this year.
Please talk
what
about.
Can we do? We can do a little Benson. We can do a little. Wilson,
Benson.
Yeah,
Benson will be good. Yeah. Someone wants us to talk about Cowboys RB1.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have one, I think. Right? Do they have one? Who is it? Did they sign somebody?
Yeah, they don't even have one like relative. Like relative to the Cowboys. How dumb was paying Javonte Williams the same money that Rico Dowdle gets? I mean,
so dumb.
They like, the only way that makes sense is if they're just like, we have to get a starting running back who's like really, really great at pass protection, because they didn't love what Rico Dowdle brought to the table last year. They would keep saying, "Oh, he's getting better in pass protection. He's good in pass protection. He's a 3-down back." And then, well, who's that little white guy out on the field on 3rd down? Oh, it's Hunter Lepke.
Yeah. Well, he's not that little. I mean, come on.
No, he's that short, thick boy out on the field.
What have we got? Oh, okay. Yeah, Andrews would be kind of fun here.
Yeah, with Zay.
With Zay, yeah. Kind of like that. And what else we got? We got Penix as a stacking guy. We got Stafford to stack later.
All right, we're on the.
But yeah, Andrews here is kind of.
Yeah,
let's do Andrews.
Team. Let's do it. They said he's very important to their Super Bowl dreams. We're not in the business of trading away great players unless we get something really good for them. Which RB3 do you see moving to RB2?
Which RB3?
I mean, that might go back to the Cowboys. But again, who's the RB3? Who's
the RB3? That's one where you could see Sanders move from RB3 to RB1.
Yeah.
Which is kind of where, I think blue there is the way to play it because I think he'll have a role as a pass catcher, but I'm not sure he's like a smash either.
Mm-hmm.
He was a college committee back, not that great of a prospect, not that great of a receiving prospect even. Like he's all right, but didn't have a ton of draft capital associated with him. I still like him as a way to bet against the veterans, but everyone else kind of likes him too. So
yeah. It's funny because last year we were talking about, this Cowboys backfield is disgusting with Zeke and Rico Dowdle and Dalvin Cook, and Cowboys said, "Oh, you thought that was disgusting."
It is like they're trying to prove a point, right?
Yeah. We told you running backs do not matter. Okay.
Yeah, they're taking it too far. So I think there's a couple guys in best ball. I'm not really drafting the RB3s. I want the report that like this guy's the RB2, and then I will hammer that guy because he hasn't been drafted in a bunch of the teams. The teams that did get RJ Harvey in the 8th or 9th, like they don't have that guy. Most likely, they might even have a failed attempt to find that guy. They've got a 0 or a couple zeros of running backs that they thought would be an RB2, but are actually the RB on the practice squad. And so I can kind of get leverage on those early drafted teams by using that information. One dude that I'm not touching now at all, but I might hammer later if we get good news, would be Taj Brooks. If he emerges as the backup to Chase Brown,
I feel
a dude who I would really take
there. Yeah, and Samaje Perine is just kind of like a third down every now and then kind of guy.
I do want the information though.
Kyle Williams, Ramondre Stevenson, CJ Stroud is at the top, but we don't have anything going on there.
I would do Kyle Williams for sure.
Yeah, I'm in for that. Let's do it. Quick look at our team.
Should have just taken Naked May. We would have gotten Kyle Williams.
Oh my God. Should have done it. Failed. Kyler as our QB. He's naked right now. His birthday suit. Omarion Hampton at running back. Quinshawn Judkins, Tony Pollard, and then receiver Puka, Drake London, Devontae Adams, Zay Flowers, Emeka Egbuka, Kyle Williams, and then we have Mark Andrews right now at tight end. So we're going to be looking at 3 tight ends, faux show, and then QB. Do you think this is going to be a 2 QB situation? I mean, obviously, depending on
we could do 3.
What would your line? I feel like we're at the point right now where it's got to be 3 with like. I mean, you could see like Kyler Murray and Stroud being a fine 2 QB room, maybe if we knew the bye weeks for sure.
Right.
But like we have,
maybe if you just stall long enough, we might know the bye weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Just sit on the clock.
Yeah. Let's find a way to turn this into a slow draft until we're ready. And we could take.
What are we looking at running back?
At running back, well, Trey Benson is out there.
Yeah. So I think that he's probably the guy here.
Yeah, and then Rachaad White as well. Rashad White could come back. And like we could call it at 5 running backs. I feel if we did like Benson White, not to jump
we definitely could
too far ahead. Yeah. Tyler Algier is another possibility to get with Drake London and then take a Penix. You want to take Benson here?
That's true. Let's take Benson. Get a little bet on the Cardinals beyond Kyler.
Yeah. Yeah, Gannon said if he takes the leap, we'll have 2 RB1s here.
Take the leap, bro. Do it.
Just do it.
Just take the leap.
What are you waiting on?
Why?
Taking the leap.
Why would you just
part? The fall from the leap is the word. We always think of leaping as a good thing. I think of it as like leaping off a cliff.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the leap is kind of like it's like there's a gap, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you do the little leap. But how wide is the gap? Because you might not make the jump, and then you fall into the abyss.
Dude,
that's where Benson is at right now.
You know who really took a leap is those 10 lords. Those 10 lords.
They went a leaping.
The coaches said it. We should have seen it coming. Like these 10 lords, they're taking the leap this year. And we said, no. Look at the metrics from last year. None of these guys
from last year they were leaping as well. They leap every year. That's the song. They always go leaping.
It's always 10. I guess that's the like roster max.
It's pretty predictable.
Flashman. Any players you were out on pre-draft that you now pick?
Yeah, a lot of the like DeAndre Swift would be one. I was completely out on him. Like they're definitely going to replace that guy. Well, they didn't. I think they wanted to, but they didn't. Pollard, I didn't take much of. I didn't really take much of like the running backs kind of in that 8, 9, 10 round range because I was like, these are risky. These guys could get even my guy Jalen Warren. I didn't really take that much of. I was worried about the replacement risk.
We're up here. Rashad White is on top. There's also Jalen Knoll. Tyler Algier is 3rd here. I feel like with
I mean those running backs are pretty nice. I think. Both those guys.
Which one you want to go? You want to go Rashad or Algier?
I'm fine with either.
Okay,
I'm good with either. We have correlation both ways.
Yeah, let's go Rashad. I feel like as like a 5th RB where we have Benson who like might be
nothing.
You know, Rashad will like he'll get us some usable weeks. He plays enough.
I agree.
Plays enough in the passing game. They use him around the goal line. Like he's not necessarily there. Hey, this is the goal line back every time, but they do use him in that area.
Yep.
Okay.
Cam Ward would have been another option there, and someone I'm now sweating making it back.
Yeah.
If Ward doesn't get back, I think we just take Stafford.
Okay.
And what's Stafford's ADP 164?
Stafford, 164 right there.
He's risky to not make it back. Yeah, so Ward goes. So I think Stafford becomes the clear pick now.
Yeah.
A little ahead of ADP, but we have the double.
Where did Penix go here?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking Penix, but I missed that he had been sniped right before we went.
Mm-hmm.
So that's annoying.
Yeah, he got taken nearly a full round before we were up. All right, 2 picks away here. Yeah, I see Algier is kind of like a poor man's Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah. Right. I used that comparison the other day, actually. Yeah, I think that's right.
Get some usable weeks, and then the upside if RB1 gets hurt, or if, let's say like Kenneth Walker gets traded. I don't think it'll happen, but we're going Stafford here, right?
Stafford, yeah.
Yes.
Lock up the double, lock up the QB2.
Oh my God, Stafford, Puka, Devontae. Who's that week 17 game going to be? Could it be the Niners? Maybe.
I mean, it could be the Cardinals.
It could be the Cardinals. Oh, that would be nice. That'd be very nice.
It's like a Kyler bring back on our Rams double. Has to run, has to scramble.
And then just looking at some of the QBs left, if we want to go 3 QBs at some point. Bryce Young. I mean, these are all like guys. We don't have anybody.
Yeah, we don't really have anything set up.
If there's anybody we can grab that would set up with them, I feel like maybe an Anthony Richardson if he falls.
Late Richardson, I think, is totally fine.
Yeah,
like it's just a tack on.
Yeah, with this QB room, we might be.
It's not coach speak, but it is player speak. Are you nervous at all about the Michael Pittman comment that he hasn't heard from Anthony?
I looked into that. I didn't think it was a big thing. There was, I think there was like some other context to go along with that. Because I was not like,
was the other context that his quarterback had pulled himself off the field the previous year?
Sometimes you just need a break. Hey, I'm going on my 10-minute break.
He clocked out of the NFL game.
Smoke break.
Just smoking a cigarette.
Yeah. I mean, back in the 60s, you could smoke in the stadium. You could smoke on the bench. It was fine. But now you got to go back to the locker room. You got to go into a stall. You got to smoke up into the vent.
Yeah, the NFL's gone woke. They won't let their quarterback smoke on the sidelines.
Let the players smoke on the sidelines again, okay? Enough. Yeah. 3 picks away round.
I think we grab one of these tight ends here.
Yeah.
Fryermuth or Otten. We got the Bucks thing without the quarterback, so I kind of like Otten here.
Otten, who plays 105% of the Bucks snaps.
and he still is a tight end too.
Yeah. They needed like 8 guys to go down last year for them to be like, all right, Cade Otten, it's your turn to get the ball a little bit. All right, we want to go Cade Otten here. Let's see if there's anybody. Oh,
yeah, I like Otten.
This Pat Bryant.
We could do the Michael Wilson thing, I guess, if we want to make sure we get that done.
Let's do that.
Okay.
I have some late round tight ends that I really like this year. I mean, I guess I'll go ahead and say who they are.
Yeah, that's normally how this works.
Do I just keep it to myself for like 10 more?
just sit in silence for 3 seconds.
So Theo Johnson, would you like to guess what percentage of snaps he played last year? Either in total or in week 1 as a rookie.
I'm gonna guess it was like around 60%.
I believe it's much higher than that. I know definitely I think week 1 was around 45% of snaps. I'm sorry, 85. Yeah, 85.9% of snaps. He played on 84.2% of snaps last year. Yeah.
All right. Well, he needs to play at 200% of snaps before.
We're back on the clock here. We could go Anthony Richardson.
Okay.
185. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Kyler Stafford, Anthony Richardson at QB. I've got 2 picks left. Running backs: Omarion Hampton, Quinshon Judkins, Tony Pollard, Trey Benson, Rashad White. Receivers: Puka, Drake London, Devontae Adams, Zay Flowers, Emeka Egbuka, Kyle Williams, Michael Wilson. And tight end, we got Mark Andrews. So these last 2
just tack on
rounds, we're going to hit tight end. So Theo Johnson, I like. Jawan Johnson, I think, is a pretty good late round tight end. Harold Fannin, I like.
I love Fannin.
As a final.
I want to hear a bull case from Fannin that isn't coming out of my mouth.
Well, I don't know if you are aware of this, but he led college football in receiving yards last year. Just imagine what he could do if he wasn't duck-footed.
He would be a first-round pick. I stand by that.
The coaches and general manager are talking about him. They said a queen on the chessboard, guy that you can move around. They've been talking a lot about wanting to run, sounds like pretty heavy amount of 12 personnel this year. And when they're running 12 personnel, between Njoku and Fannin, well, one of those guys is not going to be inside blocking, right? If there's a blocking assignment in 12, and that's going to be Harold Fannin, because he's going to be running routes, and Njoku can block much better than he can. There's been a lot of knocks on Fannin's blocking and run blocking. Andrew Berry says we actually think he's a better blocker than people think, which is a thing that
he had a good run blocking grade. He wasn't tasked with like blocking defensive ends and stuff. He's kind of a big slot, but he did line up in line like at similar rates to Loveland and Warren, and he's like 242. He's sometimes people act like he's like 230. He is roughly, he's near, he's not 250, but he's close to like normal tight end size actually. So I think like if you're asking him to like block a linebacker as part of like 12 personnel, or like even like maybe like a cornerback or something, like, yeah, I think he's going to be capable of doing that. He's not traditional, but that doesn't mean he like can't block at all.
For sure. 2 picks away here.
Where are you at on Schultz? Because people are nervous about Stover, but
little bit nervous on. It's just the okay. We're on the clock here. The upside doesn't strike me as big with him, whereas with like Chig or Fannin or even Theo.
You want to take Fannin here?
Let's do it. Yeah.
We said too many nice things to get slacked.
Right. Yeah, I just think it depends on the build of your tight end room. Like if you really need 3 or 4 weeks of 10 points, like Dalton Schultz might be your guy. If you have a couple big flyers there, like let's say you go Tyler Warren, Colson.
Brett said no on a sniping fan. You never know, Brett. Okay.
Yeah.
It would have been painful.
Juwan Johnson, Shuck's old friend. Were they together somewhere 9 years ago in college?
Well, Juwan Johnson's actually younger than Tyler Shuck.
Oh my God, is he really?
No, I just made that up. But he might be.
2 picks away until
no, he's like 2 years. He's like almost 3 years older.
We could go Theo Johnson or Dalton Schultz.
I think both those guys are kind of good fits.
Okay. The other option would be to take, with Stafford and the stack we have going on, would be to take a Rams tight end.
I think it's probably still Higbee though, and I don't want to take
Higbee. It's still Higbee. Yeah.
So there goes Schultz. I'm down to take Johnson.
All right, let's do it. We got the tight end 1, 2, and 3 this year. That's pretty cool. Overall,
you do like that. Yeah. I have some Bowers bags that I'm going to need to reevaluate if that's the case. That would actually probably be very bad for me overall.
How do you feel about Tyler Warren this year?
I mean, I struggle with him a bit because, like, Josh Downs, I think, is very good.
Hold on. Sorry. Breaking news. Is this true?
No way.
Cardinals Rams week 17.
Let me look it up.
Oh my God. This is the day to really fuck with BBM streamers.
You're successfully doing it.
Atlanta versus Rams.
It's Atlanta Rams. Well, we have that too.
Yeah, well, you're just saying. You guys are just saying correlation that we have on this team, and not nice. Okay. If you're telling lies, it's not nice. Getting all my hopes up. Watch it be some bum ass matchup like Rams versus Saints or something.
Oh God. Rams versus Browns, which actually would be like correlated, but sort of a be careful what you wish for situation.
Yeah, get one of those like Vikings Raiders 3-0 final games that we saw a few years ago in week. I don't remember what week it was, but can you imagine being loaded up on like that type of game for week 17? Like, oh yeah.
Now, huge huge anus here in the chat. I can't help it. I'm an a-hole.
Huge anus.
You're telling me that huge anus is an a-hole?
All right. So, well, 2 seconds left. I can't recap the draft until it's completely over. Okay, here we go. And then we'll answer another question here as we review Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford, Anthony Richardson in our QB room. Running backs, Omarion Hampton, Quinshon Judkins, Tony Pollard, Trey Benson, Rashad White. Receivers, Puka Nacua, Drake London, Devontae Adams, Zay Flowers, Emeka Egbuka, Kyle Williams, Michael Wilson, and tight ends, Mark Andrews, Harold Fannin Jr., Theo Johnson. Pat, how are you feeling about this? Best ball.
I'm into it. You know, we took Tony Pollard, which is like not the most fun click, but Tony has been tasked with like some serious chaperoning. Like he's got a couple rookies to keep an eye on, a guy who's like currently deciding whether or not to make a leap, you know, and then he has Rashad White, who's like along on the trip. You know, he's the other chaperone, but Rashad's not really paying attention. He's off doing his own thing. So
he doesn't have any kids here. His kid went here last year, and he's just like
he's checked out.
Yeah.
So it's really on Tony, but I like putting that. If you're going to take a guy like Pollard, you kind of put it on him, put the responsibility on his shoulders. One of the ways that we did that is that we only took 5 running backs total. We took 3 at each of the onesies, but I like having Anthony Richardson like upside. You know, I don't know how many weeks we get, but like they will probably be excited about having him in the weeks he does start. Add some upside to the team. Backdoor stack with Benson and Michael Wilson isn't like ideal, but we got Kyler way past ADP and ended up being pretty nice given that Stafford's our quarterback too. But we got that doubled up. So when they play whoever they play, I've been lied to too many times to know at this point. But
I think they play the Falcons and the Cardinals. It's a 3-way. It's a new triangle field that the NFL is debuting in week 17.
Oh, they played both teams.
Yeah,
that's sick.
Teams play at the same time. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we get Theo Johnson to play 3 teams at once. He'll be able to score some points.
Here we go.
I don't actually dislike Theo. He just did nothing.
When you're in, you know, the middle of a draft and you're kind of looking through your team, say like looking at the wide receivers here, are you ever thinking like, okay, this guy or like these 2 guys give me 1 playable week on average, like these next 2 would give me another, right? Saying like, okay, Puka, like let's lock that in for pretty much every week being playable. You know, Drake London, Devontae Adams makes 2, Zay, Egbuka, Williams 3 kind of thing.
I tend to, if I'm thinking like that, I tend to think more like at the end of the season and maybe like at running back. I'll kind of do that a little bit. Like I have done stuff where I take 2 of the Cowboys backs. I mean, I might even take both the Cardinals guys. Like I'll sometimes do stuff where I'm like, I'm willing to punt like my 14th round pick or whatever to make it so that like this team's now very likely to have a usable guy at running back. That's where I tend to do it. I also have done stuff like pre-draft. You have the extra rounds. You know, I was like, I'll take Diami and Gabe Davis. Well, I should have just stopped at Diami, but you know, stuff like that. But sometimes you're like, oh, I'll take these 2 guys and then I'll guarantee me 1 dude, and it's like, no, actually, they probably don't want either of those guys. So, But it's at the end of the draft. I think the beginning, like when you think about winning the tournament, like you need Puka to go nuts. We're gonna need London to go nuts. Right? We're gonna need at least like probably 2 of our top 4 picks need to like have huge games, or at least like top 5 or 6 picks. They need to go absolutely nuclear. And then that gets us like, okay, now what else are we gonna do? Because we still need a lot more points from there. So now we need like a stack to go off. And we have Stafford tied to Puka, so that's pretty nice. Maybe he comes along. We have rushing upside at the quarterback position, so maybe we get a big week out of those guys. But at the top of the draft, I'm more thinking about the necessary upside.
I've named this Pat Kerrane guaranteed winner. So we're good there. Yeah, with the I think we might end up needing less chaperoning with these running backs if what Cleveland is saying about Quinshon Judkins ends up being true, as far as like this
That's
guy
true.
is a bell cow. If he's just out of the gate
That'd be
getting, 20 touches a game, that'd be pretty nice. This is a team that had a lot of needs and spent pretty high draft capital on Quinshon Judkins. So that's something that I like to pay attention to.
Can I address something in the comments here? So
Yeah.
we have a question from Pumped About Pistons, and then we get another question from the Baba Man that is like the exact same question. Is this like a burner account that we have from Pumped About Pistons? Like, or did Baba Man just be like, "That's a great question, Pumped About Pistons. Let me ask it again," so that they'll answer.
All right. What do you like to do in round 12 with running backs? You take a veteran like Ramondre Stevenson or a handcuff like Trey Benson. And then the Baba Man asks, what do you do around round 12 with veteran running backs on the board? Stevenson versus Benson.
Just like hypothetically, Stevenson and Benson.
Listen, guys, rule of threes. Okay. Two was like kind of funny. 3 would have blown it out of the water.
That would have honestly been amazing.
But yeah, let's, I guess, answer this question.
I'm thinking about trying to like piece together running back rooms. So if I'm taking Ramondre Stevenson, it would be maybe in a room like this, except instead of like Hampton, it's like Henderson. So we have 2 rookies, but I guess Henderson is maybe not the right guy because I don't necessarily want to do Stevenson and Henderson, but I'm trying to think, like, I'm really hurting. Maybe I just have Judkins or something as my running back 1, and then I get a Pollard, and then like a guy like Stevenson starts to become a little more appealing, where I'm just like, let me get a Stevenson and now pair him with like a Tootin or a Scattaboo and still be playing for like late season. Like Stevenson will help me unlock the next back weighted running back bet a bit, where I know he's probably unlikely to keep the job the whole season, but maybe he has a bigger role than we expect all year. Maybe he's like the goal line back all year. The offense is better than we're thinking. So that's like where I do think Stevenson has some use. He's kind of like a Najee. I think Najee would have some use on the right type of builds as well.
Mm-hmm.
Benson, yeah, I mean, that's more the alternative, where I'm like, I feel like I can justify kind of taking a swing for a guy who could be a second year breakout type of bet, and probably someone who emerges down the stretch, where, if he does take the leap, I still think they'll use Connor plenty to begin the year. They really like Connor, but maybe he can kind of do a rookie type of thing in his second season.
Yeah, with Benson, it feels more contingent. Like we need.
Yeah, it is also contingent.
They love James Conner, man. Like absolutely love this guy. He's not taking a backseat to any running back.
Well, he won't take a back seat if it looks like last year for sure. But James Conner's literally 30.
Mm-hmm.
And Benson's a second-year running back. So it could be the case that by November, their love for Connor is being really put to the test. I mean, I think he's live to kind of take that job over the course of the season.
mean,
It depends on him being better than last year, though.
Right. Connor is 30, but he is 13 years away from being obsessed with reincarnation all the time and thinking about it constantly.
So I'm 39, so I'm 4 years away.
You got 4 years.
From being...
Enjoy it, Pat. You got 4 years of not worrying or thinking about it, and then every day, like, I wonder what I'll come back as. Maybe a bug who lives for a couple minutes.
Oh God! If bugs are in the mix, like reincarnation, I'm telling you, it has a worse range of outcomes than just the void. You know, like you want to be a bug, and with climate change, the worst thing you could be is a bug.
Yeah, I don't want to be a bug. What?
Oh, everything, the flowers that you supported don't grow here anymore. It's gonna be terrible. What a bad time.
A dumb theory that I've been thinking about and wasting people's time with during dinner conversations is like what if it's kind of a combination like we're in a simulation, but also it's like a reincarnation type thing, and there are only so many lives to like ever be lived, and we're just kind of cycling through all of them one by one.
What was served at this dinner party? Were there any brownies involved?
No, is that is that Formosa over Listen, man, you watch The Matrix one time and
yeah, it really changes your life.
Quick best ball question. If the market is like way behind you on a player and you feel like pretty confident that you are correct and the market is wrong, what is the highest exposure that you would be comfortable with in your drafts?
Like 30%.
Okay.
That's kind of around the range. I'm not like probably as vigilant as I should be about like tracking and, adjusting what I'm doing. I'm a little hot, I'm a little cold, I'm kind of that part of it. I'm sort of saying I want to be like directionally accurate, basically. Like I don't want to I'll check it and stuff and make sure I'm not taking huge stands. But the big thing, huge stands I don't want, but the stuff that concerns me the most is I'm like, oh, I have a big bag of this guy and I don't actually love him. It's just like kind of he ends up being there a lot when I need a running back or need a receiver or whatever. And so I'm just kind of clicking him and let me cool off on that because I'm actually not trying to create a massive stand. But in spots where I really have conviction, around 30% is something I'm comfortable with.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Which might be hot, but that's just this.
Yeah, I think like 31 or 33% is the highest I've gotten on a player. But I think I had like 31%. Jalen McMillan last year. And I know in the past I've had some like 30% on guys, but
it's often the middle stands that I find myself being like, I wish I hadn't done that one. The big stands that it's like I really think that it might not even be the market's like wrong about what's most likely to happen, but that I think the market's wrong about if certain things break, what could happen. And so maybe those things don't break. And, like Drake May was a guy last year, and I was heavy on Polk and, that the whole offense really, because I thought it was underpriced relative to how good I thought Drake May might be. And I feel like Drake May is as good as I thought. But
yeah,
my God, it was a bad offense
last year. Like we still have he didn't get the design rushes last year. I think he had like one, and that was the week that they said we're not going to give him any design rushes. But like if that gets unlocked this year and it's a competent offense, which under Josh McDaniels it should be a better.
I think it should be much better
with the pieces. Do you go through like, I guess like phases of like drafting a lot of this certain player, especially if you're thinking ADP is like their ADP is going to jump a round or two. I think like let me get as much as possible of this player right now, and then like I'll maybe ease off once that ADP.
100%. I think there's a couple ways I try to do that. One is that like I don't need to get my exposures where I want them. I don't need to have them like perfectly like at that level all the time. So if I think that a player's price is going to rise, wouldn't it be awesome if I have like a big bag early and then I just like don't take him much to close? I'll take him some, but I'm getting the best of the price. You do run into, if you do that too extreme, you're like, actually the best time to draft was at the very end of the summer because that's when we knew like who the league winning running back was that didn't really get drafted before, the Kyron Williams type of guy emerges. And those teams I didn't draft my favorite player because I drafted them all early, so I don't want to get like too extreme with it, but it's more like players that I like, don't love, and I think that their price might rise. I'm very comfortable hammering that player and kind of making that bet. And look, if his price doesn't rise, I can always still cool off a bit.
Yeah.
If the increased price was part of the wager and it doesn't materialize. The other thing I try to do at the end of the draft, I find this fun, is that I'll kind of like fall in love with a dart throw. So I'm like, this is just a clear cut way to play it at the end of the draft. And then I'll try to kind of like reset my brain a little bit. Every couple weeks and like be open to, I'm out there still like looking for love, like let me see if someone else comes in and it's like, oh, this guy's, and I'll get excited again and I'll just take, a lot of that player and that'll be kind of the new thing I'm doing at the end of the draft a little bit. And I'll still mix in some of the players I was taking before, but for me, it's a lot easier to get excited about a new player as opposed to like telling myself that the pick I'm making is bad. Like if I'm trying to mix up my late round dart throws, it's easier to go, this other guy's actually really, really fun. So let me take him and let me maybe even take him like a little too much and get like aggressive about it, as opposed to trying to be like, you can't click this guy anymore. You're taking him too much and he might bust. So that's kind of a little psychological trick I do to myself.
Ethically non-monogamous drafting, but with a lot of love for the one that you're.
I love
too.
Yeah, a lot of
love.
A lot of love to give, Greg.
I've been taking a lot of Breece Hall and Bashal Tootin at their current.
I love that. Can you talk to me about Hall? Because I feel like I'm slowly on an island. I'm in California now, and we're breaking away. Headed into the sea.
Yeah. But by the way, when I moved to California originally, I'm back in LA now. But when I moved back in like 2013, my mom warned me about two things: don't drink too much alcohol, which like I don't know why that's a California thing.
That's pretty much it. That's more of an East Coast thing, if anything.
Really drink that much. I have like, just socially at a bar, maybe one or two a week. And the other one was
were you talking to her about reincarnation?
Oh man. Breece Hall. I mean, he's an elite running back. He was elite coming out of college. We saw elite production from him in the NFL. And this is a situation kind of similar to what we're seeing with Christian McCaffrey right now, where it's this recency bias from last year. Yeah. People don't like to take in like full context of things. They just, they remember what they remember about how many points a guy was putting into their lineup, and they forget
versus how much he cost to have on that team.
Yeah,
like his first round ADP, I think, is being held against him.
Absolutely, that offense was an absolute mess. You had two different OCs, none of them any good. Nathaniel Hackett and Todd Downing. Breece Hall was like dealing with this mysterious lower body injury during training camp that Robert Saleh was like, I'll just say it's lower body. and wouldn't give any more information on that. And then during the season, dealing with his knee. Yeah, and like that has all been priced in and making up this current ADP, and people have just forgotten how good this guy is when the ball is in his hands. And the Jets upgraded their offensive line. The head coach is talking about we want to run the shit out of the ball.
Yeah,
like
they want to run a bunch.
We're built to run the ball. And Breece Hall is not even head and shoulders above Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. He's like a full body above those guys. He's head, shoulders, knees, and toes above the rest of this backfield.
I agree.
Braylon Allen showed us not that much last year, except he's big, right? He's a big guy.
He is big. You got to give that to him.
Yeah. And then Isaiah Davis, I thought, was better than Braylon Allen last season. I think
he
might have him ranked like a spot above Braylon Allen. But
there's something about, like, when I watch Josh Jacobs run, there's something in my brain that's like, come on. And then like you go look at the numbers and it's like, oh, that's like a very efficient run based on, where the position of the defenders or whatever, according to Next Gen. You're like, okay, I guess.
Yeah,
he's okay then. Braylon's the opposite, where like when I see Braylon Allen run, I'm like, that's sick. And then like in every advanced metric is like, this dude sucks.
Oh man, yeah, I still remember the opening game last season with the Eagles and Packers down in Brazil, and people in the first quarter, like the first or second carry by Josh Jacobs, they're like, oh my god, look at this bum, he's absolutely washed. Look at this.
That's my tweet you're referencing. I sent a tweet that was like, this guy's stuck in mud. and then he, like, one, was efficient in that game, and two, went on to have a great season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Something about this style. I'm just like, ugh.
The week one first quarter victory lap.
Yeah, no, I was in Vegas.
I
was in Vegas. To be fair, I'd been drinking much more than your mom would have wanted to see.
How did you feel about reincarnation?
Yeah, I was telling everyone around me about reincarnation and tweeting about Josh Jacobs. Maybe Josh Jacobs will get reincarnated as a good running back.
It's a running back who's not stuck in mud. I hate it when my running backs are reincarnated into mud / quicksand. One more question here. Who will be your biggest stances this year, Pat?
All right. So I thought through like the Jalen Polk thing. What was the problem with Jalen Polk? Was it me or him? And I decided it was him.
To be fair, his reception perception was pretty good. Like his production, his profile, everything, like, yeah, pointed us towards, hey, you should probably.
And the available targets, like the thesis of the play, it played out. It's like, if this guy's good, he's going to be an excellent pick at this price because of how many targets are available. And like Kayshon Boutte was able to take advantage of the situation instead of Polk. So I do think I'll have a bunch of Kyle Williams and I'll have a bunch of Drake May. Those aren't surprising, but I'm going. I mean, this situation, if you look at like various metrics of objective stuff, draft capital at the right positions or what, like the Patriots had a pretty strong offseason in terms of just straight up upgrading. Mm-hmm. Was it perfect? No, they can't get a wide receiver to play for them to save their lives unless it's a 32-year-old off ACL. But it was still a huge upgrade from what we were dealing with last year. The situation last year was worse than I was hoping it would be. And I still think May flashed a lot. So with much better coaching and an upgraded cast, even if it's not a great cast, I think they're a good bet again. And so I'll have a bunch of them. The other guy, let's see. DJ Giddens is someone that we're, I think, quite a bit higher on than market. I do think he's the running back 2 there. I don't think we necessarily even need to wait for the news.
Yeah.
Like, who else would it be? And he's really kind of built to be like a 3-down backup type of guy who comes in and just like gets the work, sort of a discount Charbonnet as well. So he's someone I expect to be pretty heavy on. Fannin is someone I'll try to temper it because there is a lot of risk there, but I'll probably have a bunch of him, or at least a good amount. Tet McMillan.
Yeah.
There was some kind of FUD about Tet McMillan before the draft, and then he goes 8th overall, clear-cut wide receiver 1 on that team. And I think a pretty good fit for Bryce Young and that offense, intermediate target earner.
Great fit. I think you look back at what Dave Canales said last year about Deontay Johnson and the offense when he was saying, this was during the off season, during training camp, saying for our offense, and especially in the passing game, like our mode of operation is, where's Deontay Johnson? Where is he? Like, we want to get him the ball. Deontay Johnson, ex-receiver. Tet McMillan, ex-receiver. A little, obviously not completely similar players, but I think we get a quote from Dave Canales that's basically the same kind of thing he said about Deontay Johnson last year.
Well, Evans also crushed under Canales as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tet does what he does really well as a receiver, fits in with Bryce Young's greatest strength as a quarterback. And like you said, all that intermediate stuff with the yak that he's able to bring to the table with a Dave Canales designed offense, which we know can be really good if they have really good pieces. So I'm very much in on Tet McMillan this year.
Nice. The other two guys, I plan to have a bunch of, actually, I guess 3. I've always been an elite tight end guy in best ball. And I think that the top 3 tight ends, the reason that elite tight end I think makes sense is that we're trying to capture ceiling at that position. And it hasn't worked as well over the last couple years, where there's been that ceiling's been kind of spread out throughout the pool and just not as available. And so one of the criticisms of the strategy has been like, this only works because there's like God tier tight ends. It's like, well, let me introduce you to Brock Bowers. He just had the best rookie tight end season ever after being a top 3 tight end prospect ever. And he's now going to go into his second season with a significant upgrade in quarterback play, overall offensive design, probably play volume, even if they're run heavy. So I'm big Bowers. I really like him in that 1-2 turn area. And I like Trey McBride as well, who's maybe not like full God tier level at tight end, but this dude was really strong last year and he didn't score any touchdowns.
Yeah.
And we just did this with James Cook last year, where it's like, well, I can't take James Cook because he won't score any touchdowns. And then the only thing he did was score touchdowns. We do see big swings in touchdown scoring. McBride had 2 touchdowns last year, still had 15.2 PPR points per game. I mean, I think he could take a big jump just kind of from like the variance, but he's also a really good player. And, it's kind of in a 1A, 1B in terms of the target distribution there with Harrison. So both those guys, I think, are very strong picks at price. They're not like wildly undervalued, but if you give me like an appropriately priced tight end who I think can be like really dominant at the position, then I'm going to be excited about that.
Very last question, something that I'm curious your thoughts about. Demario Douglas.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of more the situation stuff, so I'd be curious what your thoughts are. But I've been trying, like, okay, so you got Diggs, you got Kyle Williams, and you got like Mac Hollins, Kayshon Boutte, and then you got Pop Douglas. And so like Hollins and Boutte feel to me like they're the most natural fits to play like X.
Yeah.
Maybe in a committee or something, but like there's sort of your deep threat no separation whatsoever, but May's just dropping it beautifully in the breadbasket type of X receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got Diggs, who's probably like your flanker Z type, I think, but did play in the slot last year at Houston. But probably, let's say he's out at Z, but then is Kyle Williams not playing, or is he in the slot? I think he's probably most natural a slot. You could also have Williams kind of play flanker, and then Diggs kicks in at the slot. So how much is Pop playing? I think he will play some, but I'm nervous that it's like he's like playing about half. He's getting like half the routes, something like that, and that he's sort of in a weird way in a committee with Hollins and Booty, because it's like you have to put like Diggs at X or Kyle Williams at X. Pop's not at X, so
yeah.
like I'm a little worried about his playing time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if this is like a good value or a slappy pick at 180, because Rabel this offseason, when as soon as he came on and they were talking about the offense and what kind of things like he wants in an offense, he was saying like we're not going to throw the ball downfield 50 times per game. Like we can make explosive plays with like short intermediate passes, right? Let's get the ball into guys' hands and get like explosive yak. So like that's kind of the guys that they were looking like, which makes sense, right? He had AJ Brown in Tennessee. I mean, he does. I feel like he does have a quarterback who could.
Yeah, May's great. May's great intermediate.
Yeah,
but
yeah, and then right the intermediate stuff, which Pop Douglas good at, get him the ball at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage or a couple yards in front, and then kind of let him go to work. It's probably just like a battle I'll be having with myself this entire drafting season.
Yeah, I feel you. He could be fine. The thing that I struggle with Douglas is that like you're not getting that much of a ceiling, because he is like a true slot. So he's probably, even if he like wins, kind of the like if he wins out, he's probably winning a role similar to last year, which is not that much playing time. I mean, it's like probably like 65% route participation, something like that. And then I think of him more as just a guy who's like consistently earns targets, as opposed to like a very like explosive player. I mean, not like unexplosive, but I don't know. I don't know like how much like design stuff he'd be really in line for. So it's to me, it's kind of like a lower ceiling play. And then if there's any floor worries. So I'm not really I'm drafting him right now. I would be open to drafting him though later. Like if we got some news that like the clear cut 3 wide receivers right now are like Diggs, Williams, and Douglas. Like sick. He's definitely under price then.
Yeah, I think I want to say he played about 50% of snaps last season, which not great. I mean, these two ADPs are separating, but they're about the same right now. Like I'd rather take a shot on like Pat Bryant right now.
Me too.
And than DeMario Douglas.
That's upside. That's some real upside.
Michael Thomas Jr.
I mean, I think it tells you that they're thinking about him as more of an intermediate target guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And he's like, he was used deep in college, but he's not fast. So I think that's nice. Like you're thinking about him as someone, and we see this all the time. Like Rashee Rice was used more deep in college, and then he comes in as more of an underneath receiver. So, we could see something similar with Pat Bryant, and that would put him really in competition with Devon Vele, and like it's kind of that bigger underneath receiver type. I think you can win that competition, and
absolutely,
there's targets available if you can.
Devon Vele is what 28 now.
He's also younger than Tyler Shuck, though.
Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for us today. Got another one of these on Friday with Neil Orfield. And That'll be fun. I think we drafted a really great team here. Pat, please tell everybody what you got going on.
Yeah, you can check out Legendary Upside, Best Ball Rankings, Dynasty Rankings. We've got DraftKings and Underdog Best Ball Rankings updated daily over there. We also have dynamic rankings and a tool called the Sidekick. You can check out at legendaryupside.com/sidekick. And some good content rolling out on the site here. Shortly, articles from Matt Irby, Daniel Raz. I'll have some content up on the site soon as well. So, yeah, Legendary Upside, the rankings, all the content's only $10 a month right now. So check it out.
Awesome. Pat does incredible work. Talks about best ball in a very thought-provoking way and in a manner that a lot of people don't. If you consume his written and online content, I think you will be a better best ball player for it. Pat, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone who joined us today. Everybody have a good one. Peace.